Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am Paisano. Tonight we're going to talk about more ACDC. I'm not really sure how many more ACDC albums I have left, but I think there's at least a couple. I'd have to go back and check, but that'd be a waste of time. Why bother? When they come up, they come up. This is their 7th studio album entitled Back in Black. And it was a monster. It was an absolute monster. Their first with Brian Johnson after the untimely death of Bon Scott in February of 1980. They went on a vocalist search. And Mutt Lange, the producer of Highway to Hell, knew of Brian Johnson in a band called Geordie out of Newcastle in the north of England. And they brought him in, and he had an audition with Angus and Malcolm. And I don't know if the rest of the band was there, but they thanked him, and then they called him back for a second one, and then they were off to the Bahamas, where they recorded this album. And it only sold about 50 million copies. That's it, you know. My goodness, this would have been, you know, to switch vocalists and come out with an absolute stone cold smash, instant smash like this is extremely unusual. Especially a group that would seem to be as limited as ACDC. They were not limited in their appeal, I can tell you that. Because they are one of the most successful, the most loved hard rock bands ever. And rightfully so. They had a lot of great tunes, and a lot of them are contained in this album. It came out in 1980, in July of 1980, so they worked pretty quickly between the death of Bon Scott in February, and this baby being released. This is a reissue from the mid-80s. Can't remember exactly where I bought it. I've had it forever, and played very well. Listened to it this week. Turned it into an MP3 back in 2016, and it's 42 minutes and 11 seconds long. And in those 42 minutes, they created an absolute masterpiece, hard rock masterpiece. And the title is a play on their grieving. They're back, but they were in black. Black being what you would use for a memoriam for a death. And they were grieving. I don't know how much time they gave themselves to grieve. They worked so quickly to put this out. You hear stories that, you know, the songs were written already, or the music was written already. In the reading I've done for this, I'm not sure how much of that is true. Although I do know that the first song that they recorded with Brian Johnson was You Shook Me All Night Long, which is still played every single day on the classic rock stations. Let's go over the track listing. The track listing is not correct on the album jacket that I have, but it goes like this: Hell's Bells. What a way to start it off, with the tolling of the bell, very atmospheric, and the riff being played over the bells ringing, just classic, instant classic. Followed by Shoot to Thrill, What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Giving the Dog a Bone, Let Me Put My Love Into You. Finishes out side A. Side B, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, Have a Drink on Me, Shake a Leg, and finishes up with Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. Great way to close it out. Side 2 is fantastic. I mean, almost every song on here is played every day on the classic rock stations. It's almost like a little mini greatest hits, but they had so many other great songs, so many other great albums. Their best days was still to come. Well, this may have been this is right up there with anything they ever did before or after. Let's take a look at the vinyl. This is definitely a reissue because it shows some previous albums. All of those had Bon Scott on them, except for Back in Black. And it has the track listing for all the various albums. Let's take a look at the vinyl. Came out on Atlantic. This is definitely a big album for Atlantic. Yeah, played very well. Album's in very good condition. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We talk about rock and roll here. Rock and roll. And if you've been watching for some time and not yet subscribed, come on. Just subscribe. What's it going to hurt? You might even learn something. I know my subscribers are extremely knowledgeable. I've learned quite a bit that I didn't know when I read the comments. I love comments. I love subscriptions. Please keep them coming. Join me on Monday night on January 14th. And we're going to draw another album out of the Pittsburgh Pirates hat. Hopefully Genevieve will be on board for that one. She's out of town tonight. And I'll pick another album and I'll give you my heartfelt and honest thoughts on it. Join me on Monday night. Thank you, and good night, YouTube.